you kind of break down what does it mean to be a lion, what does it mean to be a scavenger, and you don't do it in purely right versus left.
No, I don't think it's a right versus left thing.
No.
I even think it's a personal thing, meaning I think that if you take it to the personal level, there's a part of all of us that wants to build, and there's a part of all of us that wants to destroy. And the easiest thing in the world when we face a problem is to say that it's somebody else's fault, that it's a system's fault, and we should tear down the system. Sometimes it is the system's fault, but you actually have to have evidence of that. And then there's the part of us that wants to build. And you get to wake up every morning and decide whether you want to build or whether you want to destroy. And civilizationally, do we want to build or do we want to destroy things? And again, I'm not talking here about unjust systems where you can show the evidence for why it's unjust and whom it's victimizing. I'm talking about the Zoran Mamdanification of America, the sort of idea that America is a victimizing oppressor party and all the institutions need to be laid low so that Zoran Mamdani and his friends can feel better about themselves, even though they, again, are the greatest beneficiaries of American freedom and prosperity in the history of all of humanity. And so what you've seen, I think, over the course of the last couple of decades is the rise of what I call the scavengers, this coalition of people who I essentially have three categories of scavengers. They're barbarians, they're looters, and they're lechers. Barbarians are people who believe that we have made their civilization poorer. It largely comes from outside the United States. I think there's a big gathering of them in Detroit, scavengers who basically say that America is an awful place, an exploitative place, an oppressive place that has made the rest of the world poorer and terrible, and then they import that into our borders. And then there are looters, people who believe that free markets, private property, equal application of the law, these are actually biased, and what we need is a system that benefits people, quote unquote, like me. So Marxism definitely falls into
like the Democratic Socialists of America.
Exactly. And then you have lechers, people who believe that family and church are a threat to them because their own identity is wrapped up in behavior that family and church pose a threat to, and so family and church need to be wiped away. And the reason I say they're a coalition is because you see them acting coalitionally. It's very weird. Like they should be mutually exclusive. Barbarians and lechers in particular. It's very weird to watch Queers for Palestine.
Yeah,
sort of like
right.
Sort of like the apex example of this. People who would be thrown off of buildings in Gaza who are out there standing for Gaza, and you're like, why? Because the answer is they just don't like the civilization as a whole. It's not that they want to live in Gaza. It's that they believe the civilization that is responsible for the terrible situation in Gaza and is also responsible for the terrible situation I find myself in personally because I'm not accepted at my local family dinner. That those are the same civilization. They need to be torn down, so we're all going to march together en masse